Hi, everybody. Welcome back to part two of our episode with Elise Dean. And if you didn't catch the first half, you're going to want to go and listen to that because you're going to get her story on all things living with a chronic illness and in vitro, and now being a single mom to beautiful twins, River and Bloom. And I just am so grateful again, Elise, that you agreed to come back for part two. We are going to take a deep dive into her motherhood journey so far and also her inspiration for her new business, Be Bloomed, which is her coaching business. And so let's just get started. Let's just jump right in. And I'm wondering, Elise, if you can talk to us a little bit about River and Bloom and how they have inspired you to launch your company and just your daily drive, motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, River and Bloom were literally the cutest. I'm obviously biased because I'm their mom, but like they are just perfect. And I would go through everything that I went through a million times over if it meant that I would have them at the end of the journey. Um, Bloom is my little firecracker. She is my inspiration every single day. She just does her thing and she's so independent and she's like so brilliant, so intelligent, and she's just like a force to be reckoned with. And I'm like, I want to channel her energy every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, please make me more like Bloom. Please instill me with the same fearlessness. I mean, she's just fearless and she's an independent girly and I'm like scared of her. Like she's going to do big things.
Yes.
And River is like in 4T clothes. He's 19 months. He's
Oh
a big
my
boy.
gosh.
He is like a brick. And he is such a lover, such a love bug, such an empath, very sensitive. And he just is like connects with you on your soul. And he's like a baby. So it's like crazy, but he really is such a old soul and such a deep thinker, and it's really crazy how different they both are. But yeah, they're just perfect. I love them so much. They are the joy in my life and my motivation for literally everything, my inspiration for everything. My business, my plan was speaking of having a plan and then it not going at all
Right.
according to plan, my plan was to be a stay-at-home mom. My motherhood postpartum journey has been wild, and I filed for divorce at the end of last year and now am a single mama to two toddlers. I'm living with my parents. They're wonderful. And so through all of this, I'm like, okay, well, I can't be a single stay-at-home mom forever unless I like win the lottery. So I need to figure something out. And I really do love helping other people. I think like part of what the peace and acceptance that I've found in my own journey comes from like, okay, well, if I can use my own pain to then support other people in their pain and help guide them through this journey of self-discovery and personal growth and deep transformation, then it's worth something, right?
Yeah.
And so I had a blog from when I first got sick, and it was called Be Bloomed. And it was really just my journal that I love to write. It's super therapeutic for me. And so I just would write lots of different blogs, advice to myself. And then when we were trying to figure out names for babies, which is like so exciting when you have gone through infertility and you're like, oh, I get to pick a name. And I'm super like non-traditional. And my ex-husband and I were watching this Netflix show called Winx, and there was this like main character. It's like these teenagers who are like fairies and have magical powers. It's really cool. It's like a good show. And the main character's name was Bloom, and we were watching, and she had this beautiful long red hair and just was like a baddie. And we were like, what about the name Bloom? And everybody hated it. And everybody was like, that's so weird. I've never, like, just poo-pooing on it. And I'm like, okay, tell me no. And I'm going to like dig my heels in 10 times deeper. So her name is Bloom. And then when I was pondering and crying about what I was going to do with the rest of my life as a single mom, financially, responsible for 2 children, I'm like, all right, well, what can I do that's going to make me money and also be enjoyable for me, because it needs to be for me too.
Yeah.
And Be Bloomed was born.
Oh, so cool.
And the deeper meaning behind Bloom, I think, we all go through hardships and we all go through traumas in life. And it's like the winter, right? It's cold,
Yeah.
it's dark, it's quiet, everything is dead. And then in the springtime, it's the sun and the birds come out and the flowers bloom. And so there's always like some of the mantras that have lived rent free in my mind for the past decade is like, this is a season, everything is a season. And like the light always comes after the darkness. Like the world was literally designed that way. And so the inspiration behind the name Bloom is just, I guess, encouragement and empowerment for women to realize that like there's blooming to come. Like, and there's hope to be had, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and just good vibes,
Yes. I love that.
Say too, because River and Bloom, they're such cool names, and Wild are very cool. Like all of your children have had amazing names. But can we just stop like giving opinions to people about what they want to do? Like, I'm just going to say that on
Thank
this
you.
to everybody. Can we just let people live?
Yes.
Let people live. Okay. We don't need, if somebody tells you what their baby's name is, just say, I love it. That's great. And move on with your day. Like, we don't need to have opinions about what people are doing.
Yeah.
We don't. Can we just
agree.
stop?
I agree. I think my favorite follow-up question that everybody should implement is like, do you want feedback, or like, do you want my opinion? Because like, generally speaking, like I don't give a shit about your opinion. I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to continue doing what I want. And if that bothers you, that's a you problem. But yes, I love that you brought that up, because like there's nothing that kind of like takes the wind out of your sail when you fought so hard for your kids and you're so excited about your name and you're like, this is it. And then people are like, huh, interesting. You're like, okay.
Didn't ask you.
Match my excitement, please.
I mean, I'm just tired of it. Like, can we just let everybody just like
let people live?
Let people live. Let them do their thing. Like, let's just stop. Just everybody stop.
Yes.
So I just want to say, like, because I remember when people asked and I said Olivia, and people would have opinions and they were like, oh, people will think of Olivia Newton-John. I remember someone told me that, and I was like, she was cool in Greece. Like, who cares? Right. Olivia is a pretty name. I never knew an Olivia growing up. I don't care. I like it. I'm going to name my child that. But it's just like, stop. Stop with the opinions on what people want to do. I don't care what you name your child. If it doesn't affect my life at all. Yeah.
If it doesn't directly impact you, you should not have a strong opinion about it.
Correct.
That's what I believe.
Correct. I love that.
I saw this funny thing once, and it was like, unless you've come in my body or out of my body, you have no opinion
I love that.
anything I'm doing. So
that's so fantastic.
I don't really care. I thought that was just like so funny when I read that. I was like, either, I mean.
The other thing, though, too, Elise, that I love that you will occasionally do on your Instagram account, and if you're not a follower of Elise, then you will be after today, because I'll post her socials and all of that. And she's just such a fun follow, is when you get a criticism, you will say like, okay, like now everybody has to go and do like a random act of kindness because I had a hater drop a mean comment. And I'm like, That's so good because it teaches our children too, like you're going to grow up in a world that isn't always going to be kind. And so how are we going to clap back essentially in a way that doesn't end up hurting yourself
Yeah.
and your self-worth? So
Brene Brown talks a lot about like raising children. I love Brene Brown. She's like
us too.
But she talks about like she had a conversation with one of her children that was like, you want to find people who like light your candle, not like dim your candle. And I think there's a lot of, we live in a world with a lot of hurt people that are not, that have not done the work and have not healed, and hurt people. And unfortunately, now in the age of social media and, you know, keyboard warriors, and you can do anything behind a screen essentially with no consequence. And, you know, the trolls are real, and the trolls are out there, and they have no shame in what they do. And in the beginning, it really, when my page first kind of started getting some followers, it really upset me because I'm like, oh my gosh, this person is making fun of how big my teeth are, or, you know, messaging my husband saying that look like a drag queen. Just, you would be shocked at some of the things that have come across my inbox. And it's just, you know, hurt people. And if I don't engage. When they go low, you go high. And if I can, again, make something good out of something that was intended to hurt, then that's my job, you know, then I've done my job.
Yeah, and those comments too say more about them than you. You know what I mean? Like it says so much more. I think about how my daughter takes pragmatic speech, and she's learning like a thought bubble versus a speech bubble. And it's like, those are thought bubbles, people. Everyone, keep them up here. They're not. We don't need to write them. We don't. Let's keep that as a thought bubble. It's a thought bubble.
I always visualize the trolls like in their mom's basement, like eating loaf and like playing video games and and now I'm like, here I am living with my parents and like eating my mom's meatloaf. So like maybe that's not a great analogy, but like, you know, you just have to have compassion and empathy for the people who just willingly spread hate. That's just never been my vibe. I'm like a lover. I'm just a lover.
Totally.
Well, and can we also say like they always have like a weird profile picture. It's like not even
or something.
It's like, yes, it's like some weird animal or like I don't know, like a Pokemon or just like some weird thing. It's like not even their face. And it's like, what are you you know, let's see your picture. Let's see your stuff.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. I'm just like, to me, I just can't get past that people have the time to like write other people and say certain, I don't know, like do something.
That's a lot. But speaking of time, that is a good segue, Sarah, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about entrepreneurship, and I'm thinking about, it's not for the faint of heart. We're all three entrepreneurs. We're all business owners. I want to know, having these two precious toddlers, because I didn't start my business until my boys were a little older, and it's hard. There are days when I'm really exhausted. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about balance right now through all of that, or is that just a concept that doesn't exist?
Well, I mean, if you would have asked me last week, I like got norovirus and the flu, and I just was like, burnt out. Oh yeah. Norovirus is not for the faint of heart. I haven't thrown up and been on the toilet. Like, we don't have to get into it, but it was not pretty. And I think it was a culmination of things, because the twins got it and they were like pooped their pants and were fine. And then like,
that's always the case.
Right back up. And I'm like, I'm 32 and like was on my ass for 4 days. And like, you still have to like take care of your children and like do things when you're puking your brains out. So yeah, balance. I do my best. I always do my best. But starting a business, I mean, I'm not proud to say this, but I I have always not felt like an adult because I have had the wonderful support of my parents growing up. And then I had the support of my husband once I got married, and my dad kind of handed me off to him. And then he kind of took care of all the like adulting things. And now I'm 32 and I have 2 kids, and I'm like, shit, I like need to be an adult. I like have to figure out like how to file my own tax, like simple
all the
things
adult
like that.
things.
Yeah, all the adult things. And now starting a business also, it's like I went to reach out to someone to design my website, and they were like, oh yeah, it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm going to be a website designer myself. So I'm like, I put the kids down for bed, and then I'm up till midnight learning Squarespace and learning acuity scheduling. And it's such a daunting task trying to, like, your life depends on something that you have no clue what you're doing. Like, I'm a great therapist. I'm a great coach. I have never started a business. I have never, set up accounting and marketing and all these things. So it's definitely, I'm learning the balance, but I just try to do my best to, like, another silver lining of having chronic health issues is I'm super in tune with my body, and I check in with myself quite frequently. And if I'm feeling run down, or I'm feeling like I always ask myself, like, is someone going to die if this doesn't get done right now? No? Okay. Then like we can save it for later. And so I try, but we're a work in progress.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you were saying about like learning to take breaks, learning to listen to yourself and not keep kind of grinding or pushing to the point where you're getting sick. And that's not easy to always recognize.
No, but like you will never regret slowing down ever. Like when you slow down and you're actually like, oh my gosh, I haven't showered in 2 days and I'm starving and I'm exhausted and like I just need some fresh air. Like, no, I've never, ever, ever been like, dang, I'm pissed off that I took that break. I shouldn't have. It wasn't worth it,
Yeah. And being unapologetic about it.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah. And I think too, like going back to episode 1 with like the resiliency is, I think the reason that you're able to like take all of this head on is because your body was in a state of like, am I going to be okay? Like, am I going to survive all of this? So when you've made it to the other side of something like that, this is like, yeah, this is new stuff I have to learn, but I can do this. Like my body is healthy, and you have to have a healthy body, but like you literally could have died from all of those things that happened to you. So it's like, yes, this sucks. Like sometimes the season sucks and it's not what you expected it to be, but you've been in a place where, you were so chronically ill that I think this is just like, all right, we're just going to take one step every day until we get through it.
Yeah. I went to therapy actually this week. It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm like, go in. I hadn't seen her in a while, and I just like start crying because it's like I'm a feeler, and you just have that sense of safety with your therapist, hopefully. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying. Like nothing's happened. Like I'm actually doing really great. I'm feeling fine. And she's like, nothing's happened. Like, what are you talking about? Like everything has happened. You're just not, like, for 10 years of my life, I lived in survival mode, fight or flight, like such a high level of survival. And now that I'm like, oh, like my biggest task today is like figuring out like a website, like I can do that. So it's just, I think your mindset plays a big role in it too. You can either be working with yourself or working against yourself. And it's a lot easier to work with yourself.
And after 10 years of being in fight or flight, as a person who's also lived very long bouts of time in flight or fight, and freeze, I think it takes a long time for your nervous system to kind of heal. And it does heal, which is the beautiful part, but it's a gradual healing. It's like when you've been walking around as an exposed nerve for the majority of your life. Sometimes coming into the calm can feel a little jarring. And there's a lot of crying involved in healing. There's a lot of random crying involved in healing and not always being able to name why you're crying. But your body knows.
Yeah.
So,
The Body Keeps the Score is such a good book. And
yes.
Yeah, I mean, your environment, the people in your life, your circumstances absolutely play a crucial role in the status of your nervous system.
Yeah.
Those are facts.
Yes. Yes. The other thing I was thinking about as you were talking, I don't know if you've heard this story from Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but somebody had asked her in an interview, if you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would you have wanted her to know? And she starts laughing and says, like, well, my younger self wouldn't have listened anyway. So there's no use in telling my younger self anything, but I still love the question. And so, you mentioned you're 32. You've got a lot of life ahead of you still, and these two wonderful blessings. And yet also, I'm sure there are things in your life where you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't know that yet, or I just didn't trust myself, or I didn't listen to that, or whatever it was. What would you have wanted her to know through all of this?
Gosh, she was so naive. so naive. I think first and foremost, I would just give her a hug because she needed a hug. And I would just say that you're capable and you're so much stronger than you think that you are.
Hold on, guys.
But meeting her with compassion is what I hear. Meeting her with compassion.
Everyone
needs
to be met with compassion.
Yes.
Everyone is going through something. You have no idea what's underneath the surface of the stranger walking next to you or driving next to you. Like, everyone should be met with compassion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When you are working with a client, let's say, who comes in and they are in a really fragile state, and maybe you can identify part of yourself in that client, being at a fragile breaking point, how do you approach that with a client?
I mean, just with love and with safety and care. I think a lot of people are hurting and go into their turtle shells because they have maybe opened up and been vulnerable with someone and it wasn't the response that they were needing or hoping for, which has happened to me several times. And so, I just lead with love in everything that I do, work or not work related. But if I have someone who's really struggling or going through it, like, just holding a safe space for them. And there's a lot of differences between like therapy and coaching, but I think the really beautiful aspect about being a therapist that is a coach is you kind of get the aspects of therapy and that therapeutic personality, I guess, or space or qualities. But in a space where it's like, okay, we're going to sit here, we're going to feel it, we're going to give compassion and give love, and then we're going to do something about it. So you don't feel like this space is going to live on forever,
Sure. So the coaching is maybe more of like, kind of, you feel like you can get in and be a little bit more like solution focused or take action in a way that you couldn't with the therapy?
I think with therapy, what I really struggled with is like not self-disclosing, because I think that like there's so much connection. That's how I build rapport with my clients is I want you to know about me and my journey because we're in this together. And obviously there's like ethical guidelines about self-disclosing unless it's like super, prevalent in their own situation. And also I had such a hard time like not giving advice because I just am like, I feel like if I could, and obviously like who would be a candidate for therapy versus who would be a candidate for coaching is very different. I have consultations with people and I'm not gonna like let someone do coaching if like what they really need is a therapist. And so I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But I I love the goal-oriented, solution-focused. I love a plan. Let's feel like you're making progress in what you want to accomplish out of your life.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's funny because when we were talking about ethics with all of it too, with coaching, I just feel you become so vulnerable as a therapist, or the person is vulnerable with you. And if you do self-disclose, which I work with kids, so they do ask me questions and I will give them an answer. Because Cindy and I both go back and forth on the self-disclosure part, but you want to, you're with these people on their vulnerable journeys, and you want to celebrate those things, and you want, to feel connected with them. And I feel like with coaching, the nice part is maybe there's not as fine of a line there of it's okay if maybe one of your clients, or it has a big event and they invite you to the event because they want you to see something that they worked really hard on. Whereas a therapist, we're not allowed to go. We can't do that. But yet I've been on this really intense journey with you. I've seen you go through, bullying, whatever, with these kids, but then you can't go and celebrate them because that would be violating something ethically. It's I feel like with the coaching aspect, it just, the lines are a little less rigid there.
Yes. And I my clients always become my friends on some level. Obviously we keep it professional, and but I want to be able to celebrate their wins. And I think there's so much power in the statement me too. And when someone is navigating something and they have shame about it, or they feel so isolated in it, and I can be like, oh, me too. I've been there. I am there. People might look at my social media and be like, oh, wow, I've gotten this message before. God, your life looks so perfect. It's oh, honey, let's get into the nitty gritty, shall we? I just think there's so much power in being oh, yeah, me too. I get it.
Makes you feel less alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know grad school, I think, just scared us all. When we were sitting in there and they're like, don't ever have anything to drink. Sit like this in a chair. Don't be comfortable. Wear certain clothes. It's just okay, how do you want me to be a robot in here? I don't know. But it's funny because years later, then you're you can bring the drink in. Nobody's gonna care.
You can just put your own personal spin on it. We're not going to be all super rigid up in here. So yeah.
I know. But remember those little micro pracs, and we were all so nervous. And
it's a very stressful experience. I'm glad to hear though that you are in an element that feels more organic and that it is a good fit for you. And I'm wondering, just to wrap this up, because I know you're busy and you've got a lot of things on your plate today as well. So can you talk to our listeners about two things? A, if they want to find you, how can they get in touch with you? And we're going to link some stuff here. And then B, what's next for you in this next chapter, for your family, for your business? Any exciting for the future? Any personal projects that you've got coming up, or work
goals,
projects?
anything? Yeah.
So you can find me. My website is bebloomed, BEBLOOMED.co, just co, not co. And you can follow me on Instagram. Be Bloomed Wellness is the Be Bloomed page. And then my personal page is Elise with 2 underscores Dean. And gosh, what's next? Hopefully we continue to get clients and I can save up enough money to get out of my parents' house, although I would stay here forever. But I'm sure my dad is like, all right, sister, I did not sign up for retirement with 2 toddlers, but get my own place and just focus on me. I really have historically put all of my energy into other things, and I'm excited to have an era of Elise and just focus on, blooming myself, this new season of being a single mama, raising my babies and just being super protective of my space.
That's
I love
beautiful.
that.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful and so wise. So wise. If there's anything to be said for like coming into your own, I think that's one of the wonderful things about aging. Sarah and I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Just being more ourselves and
Yeah.
more unapologetic than we've ever been.
I know.
Yeah.
And I wish that we knew these things when we were younger, but
I know.
that's part of life,
what-
isn't it?
But then what's the point of life, right?
I
Like if we
know.
already had it
True.
all figured out, then like
Yeah.
life would be so boring.
We would have
It
no
would.
personal pain to share.
We
would
wouldn't have
no
this
blooming.
dark sense of humor, all of these fun things.
That's right. We would not have a dark sense of humor, all the things, right?
Mhm.
So, we are just so appreciative of your time in this 2-part series. And I know I can speak for Sarah too. We have loved watching your journey so far, all the joys and the heartbreak included, because it's what makes you, I think, so dynamic and so relatable.
And authentic to
Yeah,
everyone.
for sure. Yeah. And just watching you in this next chapter, and we just have nothing but high hopes and wishing you all the best and your babies as well. So go follow Elise. If you know of anybody that needs coaching, or maybe you yourself, she's a great resource. So
And
thank
we
you
hope to
so
have you back
much.
on at some point too. We will definitely
Yes.
link all of your contact information for everyone. But we just appreciate you being so real on our pod and sharing your journey, because I know that can be, very hard to do. And so we appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I loved spending time with you. You guys both have such great energy and boost my confidence. I'm like, it's Friday. I can do anything after talking to these ladies.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I appreciate it. And I would be happy to be back. Y'all are great.
Oh, thanks, Elise. All right. Take care.
Enjoy your
Thanks,
weekend.
everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.